Dead Island 2 is a highly anticipated action slasher game with RPG elements that has survived a production hell with rumors of its cancellation for many years. But now, after such a long wait, the game will finally see the light of day. For those who don't know, the full sequel to Dead Island 2 was announced back in 2014. Initially, it was supposed to be a direct continuation of the events that took place a few months after the incident on the island of Banoi. However, the game release was delayed multiple times because the project underwent 3 changes in developers due to creative differences. I think that Dead Island is generally capable of meeting expectations, but it's not the most daring game out there. There are a lot of materials on the internet from the press and bloggers, so we have analyzed everything and are ready to share some interesting details in our first look. Right now, we can say that Dambuster Studios has kept its promises by creating a unique combination of horror, black humor, and zombie slaying. So this time we'll find ourselves in California, specifically in a hellish version of Los Angeles called LA. In the preview version, Amy, one of the 6 main game characters known as killers, was available. We wanted all the characters to be a bit crazy, says story designer Lydia Cockeram. They don't have to be real people that you could encounter in ordinary life. They are pompous personalities. Amy is a clever Paralympic athlete who found new inspiration in life by killing the infected. Like everyone else, she tried to escape from LA, but the city is filled with live dead and is under the strictest quarantine. When she attempted to save another live person, Amy was bitten by an infected and, to make a long story short, nothing happened. As we know from the plot, all 6 heroes are immune to this pathogen, so during the game they not only have to subdue the zombies within themselves but also uncover the truth about the epidemic. From that point on, each main character has a very clear set of goals: to find a way out of the city, understand the nature of their immunity, and find the cause of their Banoi virus outbreak. Of course, no spoilers, but the best way to describe the sequel's plot is that it just exists. The story simply provides a reason to tie together different missions and move everything forward. But I must note that according to their own admission, the developers drew inspiration from the coronavirus epidemic. But of course, no zombie game would be complete without constant dynamic battles, severed limbs, and an ocean of blood. Dead Island 2 handles this almost perfectly. Various types of infected await you, which have long become genre stereotypes. From ordinary walkers and zombie bombers, acid spitters and screamers, to bosses we'll talk about later. Some journalists wrote about the fun atmosphere and good humor that sets the game apart from other representatives of the genre. The developers have cleverly incorporated some quests with elements of modern culture, but I won't spoil anything. And all of this is seasoned with interesting, eccentric, and charismatic characters, both primary and secondary. The world invites players to explore the diverse locations of Los Angeles, but the game has a clear path that you must follow, tied to the main storyline. Although this limitation may disappoint players who want to open up the world, Dead Island 2 still lacks the wide corridor structure of recent games like Metro or God of War. The change of setting from the fictional island of Banoi to an American metropolis is beneficial to the game, but due to the high bar set by the zombie open world of Dying Light 2, hell, it may become tedious. When it comes to gameplay and graphics, Dead Island 2 not only matches but surpasses its main competitor, Dying Light 2. The game boasts detailed graphics and combat mechanics that allow you to counter the attacks of the next undead. But that's not all. The main feature of the sequel is the flash system. It procedurally generates absolutely all dismemberment in the game depending on the direction of the strike's force and the type of weapon used. The bodies of the undead will react differently to each strike, with crushed wounds from a hammer, severed limbs from a vertical sword strike, puncture wounds and deep cuts to the bone from a series of knife strikes, burns, and more, all completely unique. It's simultaneously stunningly realistic and gruesome. However, you quickly get used to this feeling because the streets of LA will be constantly soaked in blood and the remains of infected bodies. Imagine zombies stumbling towards you with outstretched arms, and with a swift motion, you can cut off their limb, causing them to lose balance and stumble. Then, with a kick, you can knock them to the ground and turn them into a small pile of flesh. This is enough to give you goosebumps, and I don't think there's any other game that has such a developed and diverse dismemberment mechanic. The sequel has a huge arsenal that you can use to create bloody madness. Players won't have to rely on fists or dirty their hands with infected brains. LA is filled with different types of cold and necessary firearms, unlike Dying Light 2. You just need to search for crates, houses, yards with gardening tools. Everywhere there is something to kill the next zombie. Despite the fact that there are pistols, shotguns, and rifles in the game was primarily created for bloody and brutal melee combat with hammers, swords, and other cold weapons. In short, we can expect a lively gameplay with a very brutal combat. It should be noted that all weapons can break and will need to be constantly replaced, but don't panic. First, they won't break often enough to get annoying, and secondly, you can repair and even modify your favorite katana on the workbench. A regular electro modification of a machete turns it into a formidable weapon that can take down infected enemies, while a fire katana logically ignites enemies' butts. For example, an engineer's hammer can be turned into a cremator's hammer that will ignite enemies. I'm not even talking about the classic ignition of spilled gasoline or the strange throwing of a charged battery into a puddle. But that's not all. Shurikens, grenades, and distracting devices will help get rid of the horde of former residents of the American city with style. In addition to a wide range of available weapons, Dead Island 2 has a card deck system for creating your own personal build, which will be the basis for all combat. Firstly, players will receive cards as they level up. Secondly, they can be found in hiding places all over Los Angeles. These cards can also be picked up from the pockets of the fattest types of walkers such as bosses or unique enemies. Unlike traditional linear skill trees, the deck can and should be customized manually. For example, you can combine different skills and abilities to create the best killing machine for zombies that suits your personal playstyle. In addition, if you want to change something, you can shuffle your skill cards at any time to adapt to different situations. In short, the player will have the opportunity to create a slow hero who will deal very powerful blows. Of course, you can make a fast character, but he will deal much weaker damage. The action can also boast a high degree of replayability, as you can experiment with different combinations of skills to find what works best for your hero. With 6 unique killers to choose from, each with their own abilities and combat styles, players can feel the game completely differently with each playthrough. Additionally, the Rage mode can be activated for each of the 6 heroes. Essentially, this is a general ultimate that makes your killer so strong for a short time that he can tear the walkers apart with his bare hands. Just a reminder that the completion of the zombie action game will take approximately 15 to 20 hours. However, this will depend on whether players clean up the world and complete all side quests. Overall, Dead Island 2 has piqued my interest with its unique combat mechanics, bloody brutality, fun story with decent Japanese elements and humor that at least didn't provoke fierce cringe, and spectacular city landscapes overrun with infection. If you love zombie action games with RPG elements, then skipping Dead Island 2 is a crime. Finally, 11 years after its announcement, Dead Island 2 will be released on April 28th for PS5, PS4, Xbox Series, Xbox One, and PC as a temporary exclusive for IGS. Of course, feel free to leave a comment on this topic. Are you looking forward to the game? Do you think it will be something worthy or just zombie garbage? Share your thoughts in comments and stay with us. It's going to get even more interesting from here on out. See you on Subgamer. Watch and play with us.